Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Hello?
Afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, can you hear me properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Okay, kindly tell me if my screen can be seen on your end, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, kana ready na? Okay ra, makita ra?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I know a lot of you here are complaining that kalas og load, duka kaayo, nya plus bagyo pagyud, di ba? So here, ato alang ning dalion. So kindly please bear with me for a while, okay? Okay, so good afternoon once again. I am your speaker for today, and I am from UV Toledo campus, a faculty from College of Education, and I am handling assessment in learning too. So for today, we're going to talk about the course Assessment in Learning 2, and we'll be focusing on authentic assessment. So here is our table of contents. First, we will define what is authentic assessment, then steps in designing authentic assessment, types of authentic assessment task, rubrics and scorings, portfolios and e-portfolios, online authentic assessment tips, affective domain and its tools, and lastly, we have the item analysis. Now, I know the table of contents looks like we're about to dive into a full encyclopedia, but okay, don't panic because it only looks heavy, but I promise it's lighter than it seems. So, gamay ra kayo ni siya nga topic. Okay, so let's start with the definition of authentic assessment. What is authentic assessment? Authentic assessment checks what students really understand by giving them tasks that are like um, real life situations, unlike traditional tests that often ask students to memorize and recall facts. Authentic assessment focuses on how well students can think, can solve problems, and apply what they've learned. And this helps teachers see if the students truly understand the lesson, or in other words, it is a form of assessment in which students are asked to perform real world tasks that demonstrate meaningful application or essential knowledge and skills. Okay, let's take a moment to contrast traditional assessment with authentic assessment. Okay, traditional assessment usually involves paper and pencil tasks like multiple choice, true or false, and matching type questions. Now, these tools often measure how well students can memorize or recall the information. On the other hand, authentic assessment goes beyond memorization. Okay, so it involves performances, portfolios, and also real world problem solving tasks. Now, this type of assessment, the authentic, allows students to demonstrate their understanding by applying what they've learned in meaningful and practical ways. So, in short, traditional assessment focuses on what students know, and authentic assessment focuses on how they use what they know. So it's all about performing. Okay, so now let's explore the key characteristics of authentic assessment. So these features make it very different from traditional tests, and they help us teachers to ensure that our assessment truly supports learning. Okay, the first characteristics of authentic assessment is the real world relevance. Okay, this means that the task we give our students mirror the kinds of challenges they might face outside the classroom, whether it is at home or in the workplace or in the community. Like, for example, instead of just writing the definitions, they might create a business plan. Or another example, they can also conduct an interview or they can present a proposal. Okay, so second is the performance base. So in this case, students are asked to do something, whether it is in the form of speaking, creating, designing, or solving. Their knowledge is shown through action, not just on words on the paper, right? Then third, we have the involves authentic assessment involves complex task. Why man? It's because these tasks often have multiple steps or require students to integrate different skills and content areas. For example, just like writing a research paper. Writing a research paper involves planning, researching, organizing ideas, and proper recitation. So, na siya yung mga multiple steps nga nag-require sa students to integrate different skills and content areas. Okay. Next is authentic assessment integrates teaching, learning, and assessing. Now, unlike traditional tests that comes after the instruction, authentic assessment is embedded in the learning process. As the student perform the task, they are also learning. So assessment becomes a tool for growth and not just for judgment. Fifth, we have authentic assessment is both process oriented and product oriented. We don't just look at the final output, but we also value how the students got there. Giunsa man na nila pag-achieve. Did they collaborate? Did they improve through feedback? Or what are the strategies they use para maabot sila ana nga product nga, for example, sa ilahang role play, unsa man ilahang gigamit nga mga strategies para ma-perfect ang ilahang role plays. Nag-collaborate ba sila? Na ba sila teamwork or nag-away-away ba sila? Okay? And lastly, we have the rubrics for scoring. Now, rubrics makes our expectations clear because they help both the teacher and the student understand what quality work looks like. So, rubrics also ensure fair, transparent, and consistent grading. So, to summarize, authentic assessment is meaningful, is dynamic, and also student-centered. It connects with what we teach, with the skills our students need in real life. Now, let's now walk through the steps in designing authentic assessments. So this is a crucial process that ensures our assessment tools are not only meaningful but also aligned with our learning goals and teaching practices. Okay, so there are four main steps in this process. The first step is to identify the learning goals. So this means that being clear about what we want students to know and be able to do by the end of the lesson or unit. You may also ask yourself, what are the essential concepts or skills that the students should master? Are these aligned with the curriculum standards or real world competencies? Or, for example, if you are teaching communication skills, your goal might be students will be able to deliver a clear and persuasive oral presentation. So, your learning goals should serve as the foundation of your assessment design. Now, once you know what students need to learn, the next step is to select an authentic task. So this is a task that reflects real-world challenges or context. Authentic task asks students to apply their learning in practical or meaningful ways. So it goes beyond worksheets or multiple choice tests. So for example, you may write a letter to a government official or pahimuon baron mo diha og marketing plan, or you may conduct a science investigation project. Diba? So the key question to ask in this step is that, does this task mirror something they might encounter outside the classroom? Magamit ba na nila after unsa may tumong ana niya? Okay? So after choosing the task, you need to define clear criteria that describe what successful performance looks like. So the step answers the question, what does good work look like? Kung saan man nimo pag grado sa imong student. You may define the criteria. For example, you will put there creativity, relevance to the real world situations, collaboration, and effort. Okay, so remember that defining the criteria helps both teachers and students understand the expectations. Kay lain sad no, mag-perform sila diha niya. Wala day labot sa imong criteria, lahi day imong gipangita ang criteria, di ba? So dili na siya maayo. And it also ensures consistency and fairness in grading. Now, the final step is to develop a rubric. So, based on your criteria. So, a rubric is a scoring guide that outlines different levels of performance for each criterion. Now, a well-designed rubric provides clear descriptions for each performance level. So, dapat na kay excellent baron, good, fair, or needs improvement. And also, a well-designed rubric makes the grading transparent and objective. And also, it helps students self-assess and reflect on their work. So rubrics are powerful tools because they turn vague expectations into concrete, measurable standards. So by following these steps, kaning upat, we can create assessments that are engaging, that are fair, and aligned with what truly matters in helping students prepare for life beyond the classroom. Okay, now let's take a quick look at why alignment is essential in teaching and assessment. Okay, so this diagram shows the three main concepts of our instructional design. We have here the learning goals and objectives, teaching and learning activities, and feedback and assessment. Now, we have here at the center the word aligned because all three elements must work together for learning to become more meaningful and effective. So if naay usa mawa diha, so it will make the students confused. Okay, so we begin our learning goals and objectives, and this will tell us what we expect students to know or be able to do, or think of them as the target or their destination. Second, we plan our teaching and learning activities. These are the methods and strategies we use to help students reach those goals. Like, for example, through lectures or group works or experiments, role plays, and more. And third, we design feedback and assessment tools to measure if the goals were achieved. So this could be a task in a form of task, in a form of a project, a presentation, or any form of performance task. Now, when these three are aligned, students clearly understand what they're supposed to learn, how they will learn it, and how they will be assessed. Diba? So if they are not aligned, we risk confusing students. We were just wasting our time and truly not measuring what matters. So remember, for authentic learning to happen, our goals, activities, and assessments must speak the same language. Alignment ensures coherence, clarity, and success in the classroom. Okay, so let's now move on to an important and practical part of our session. We have here the types of authentic assessment and real-life examples of each. So this will help us see how we can apply this in our own teaching. We'll look at the 5 common types. So, 5 ni sila kabuok. For each one, I will give a brief explanation and a few examples. Okay, so let's start with the performance tasks. Sige ko balik-balik ani. The performance tasks are probably the most well-known type of authentic assessment. So these are the tasks where students are asked to demonstrate their skills and knowledge through action, not just through writing or answering the questions. So example ani niya is a teaching demonstration for future educators. Of course, kita mga maestram kita pa dong dili kita pwede di kahibaw mo demo no. So ato gyud na siyang pangsuwayan. Mostly sa atong mga teachers, sa atong mga instructors, sige lag pa demo. Daghan ng mga students mareklamo, sige man ipa-demo si ma'am uy. Oh, mga inana. Daghan yaw-yaw. Okay, so but needed man siya. So kinahanglan gyud kayo. Okay, another example of a performance task is conducting a survey and analyzing the results in statistics or social studies. Or you may perform through experiments in science and writing lab reports. So this task simulate real-life roles and ask students to apply what they have learned. Okay, second, we have the portfolios. So portfolios are collections of work of the student where you will compile everything from the beginning up to the end. So this will show you some progress of your growth and depth of learning. Okay, portfolios are especially useful in writing or through art or any project-based subjects. Okay, for example, you have their visual arts portfolio for your senior high students where they are applying for creative programs, or you have their a learning journal portfolio in values education or in your MAPE, or example, a writing portfolio with drafts and final versions of your essays. So mo na siya. This will help the students reflect on their own growth and also their learning journey. Okay, third is the self and peer assessment. So this is the type where it involves students evaluating their own work or the work of their classmates. So it promotes a reflection, responsibility, and awareness of learning criteria. For example, you have their reflection journal where students write about what they've learned and what challenged them, or a peer feedback forms used after a group presentation, or a rubric-based peer review of a group task. Di ba? Mao na siya ang self and peer assessment. So, these are the powerful tools that not only for assessment, but also for developing lifelong learners. Fourth, we have the project and research work. So these are long-term, often in the interdisciplinary tasks that ask students to solve a problem, investigate a topic, or build something. For example, a capstone project in senior high school where students research a topic and propose solutions, or an action research done by student teachers during their practice teaching, or they creating a community development plan in social studies. So these are the tasks built through collaboration, planning, research, and presentation skills. So lifelong interdisciplinary tasks. Now, lastly, we have the interviews and conferences. So these are oral or one-on-one assessments where the teacher asks the students to explain, to reflect, or answer questions. So in short, it is an interactive way to check their understanding. So for example, pinaka-common sa tanan, oral examinations, and another teacher-student conference or an exit interviews where the students explain the reason why they want to exit or what they've learned, mga inana. Or even sa work, no? Nasa tayo mga exit interviews. So this is the type that is especially helpful when written tests don't fully captures a student's ability. So each of these types serves a different purpose, but all of them help us move beyond memorization and focus on real understanding, application, and growth. So when assessing students' work, we often use rubrics, and these can be classified into two types, the analytic and then the holistic. Okay, so holistic gives a single overall score based on the teacher's general impression of the work. So it is faster to use, but it gives less specific feedback. On the other hand, we have the analytic rubrics. So mo ni siya face sa analytic rubric. So this breaks down the assessment into specific criteria like the content, organization, grammar, or creativity, and score. So each one na sila score separately, di ba? So this provides detailed feedback so students know exactly where they did well and where they need to improve. Okay, so why clear criteria matters? Ngano kinahanglan man gyud? It's because it helps the students know what it is expected. It makes the scoring fair and consistent, and also it guides and peer assessment. Now, another valuable tool in authentic assessment is the portfolio or e-portfolios. Okay. A portfolio is a collection of students' work that shows growth, effort, and achievement over time. So traditionally, this is a physical format. Students store their outputs like essays, artworks, or worksheets in folders and binders. But in today's digital age, we also have the e-portfolio. It's the same concept, no? A collection of students' work, but in a digital format. So students upload their outputs online using platforms like Google Drive, websites, or learning management systems. Both formats help students reflect their progress, and they also give the teachers a fuller picture of students' learning. So the main difference, portfolios are physical, e-portfolios are digital, but the goal is the same, to showcase learning over time. Now, when we talk about student portfolios, it is important to know that there are different types, each with its own purpose. Okay, so we have the assessment, the development or growth portfolio, showcase best work, or also known as display portfolio. So ari sa ta sa assessment portfolio. Assessment portfolio, this is a student's folder filled with selected work that shows what they've learned and how they will improve. Teachers often use this to assess learning process or mastery of a subject. For example, the students compile quizzes, written reports, and projects to show their overall learning in this subject. Another one is the development or growth portfolio. Development or growth portfolio, this is think of this like a before and after folder. Okay, so it includes your early drafts, your feedback, revisions, and final versions. So it helps both the student and the teacher see how learning happened step by step. So how skills develop over time. For example, a student includes a first draft and final draft of an essay to show how their writing improved over time. And lastly, we have the showcase or best work portfolio. This is like a student's personal highlight reel. It includes their best and most polished work, something they'd be proud to show their parents, their classmates, or even future schools or employers. So a student, for example, a student select their best painting or their poem or a video presentation to present at the school exhibit. So mo na siya inyuhang panggamiton. So each type serves a different goal but are powerful tools for reflection, assessment, and celebrating students' growth. Okay, so for more examples, here they are. You may take a screenshot of each examples of each portfolios. Okay, so authentic assessment is powerful. We all know that it is powerful because it connects learning to real world tasks, right? But how do we do that in an online setting? Saan mo na? Good news, it's totally possible because we just need to be strategic with the tools available to us, right? So let's look at the 5 practical tips to make authentic assessment work in an online environment. First, you may use Google Docs or Google Forms. So one simple and flexible way to collect the students' work is through the Google Docs or forms. For example, you may ask the students to write reflection journals using their Google Docs and submit them weekly, or use Google Forms to gather the responses to surveys or self-assessment questions. In portfolios, the students can link all their work in one shared Google Drive or Drive folder, right? So the best part of this is that it is organized, easy to track, and accessible from anywhere. Second, not everything has to be written. Authentic assessment often involves performance, and that's where the video submissions come in. So you may let the students record themselves doing a science experiment. They can deliver a speech or oral report, or they can demonstrate a skill like dancing, cooking, or solving a math problem on a whiteboard. So they can upload their videos on Google Drive, or you may let them upload it in the YouTube or in your LMS. So this allows the students to express themselves in dynamic and creative ways. The third one is you can include peer reviews. So one great way to build authentic learning is through peer review. You may encourage the students to comment on each other's work in shared Google Docs or fill out peer feedback forms using the Google Forms, or they may use rubrics to guide their peer evaluation. So this it promotes critical thinking, communication, and accountability. And take note, they are all essential in real world skills. Fourth one, we have rubrics. Rubrics guide students and make expectations clear. Try creating digital rubrics using the Google Sheets or forms. You may share it before they begin the task, or let the student self-assess before submitting, or they may use it to provide consistent and transparent feedback. So digital rubrics help students stay focused and understand exactly what they are looking for. Okay, lastly, we have the LMS tools. Take full advantage of your learning management system, whether it's in Google Classroom, Canvas, or in Blackboards. Okay, you may use the different features, quizzes and polls to check their understanding, discussion boards for authentic dialogue and debate, Google Classroom for submitting written tasks and checking their originality. So remember, online authentic assessment is not only possible, but it can be as just engaging, like personal and meaningful as face-to-face if we use the right tools creatively. Okay. Now let's talk about the assessment in the affective domain. Okay, so mo na siya steps. To help us assess this area, we will be using the Krathwohl's taxonomy. So just like the Bloom's for the cognitive domain, Krathwohl organized effective learning into 5 hierarchical levels, from simply being aware to fully living out a value in daily life. So let's go through each level with examples of how we might assess them in the classroom. Okay, the first the first level is receiving. At this level, the learner is simply willing to listen or be aware. For example, a student listens attentively to a talk on environmental conservation. How will you assess that? You will assess that through observation and checklist, or a quick reflection journals on what stood out to you today, or participation in discussion. Second, we have the responding or the participation. So in here, the student actively participates. The students can ask questions, show interest, or they can contribute to the work. For example, a student volunteers during a cleanup drive or gives feedback during group work. How will you assess that? You will assess that through peer and self-assessment. You can assess that through participation rubrics, or you can assess that through reflection logs, asking them, how did you contribute today? Okay, so third one, we have the valuing. At this level, the learner shows commitment to a value, not just participating, but showing personal belief in it. For example, a student consistently shows respect in group work or promotes honesty in class. So how will you assess that? You may assess that through reflection essays by asking, why is this important to you? Or you may assess that through anecdotal records or attitude surveys. The fourth one, we have organization. So in here, the student organizes personal values and resolves conflicts between them. For example, a student decides to balance their time between academics and helping in their community based on their values. So how will you assess that? You can assess that through journals or personal goal setting, structured interviews, or decision-making tasks or role-playing scenarios. Okay. Lastly, we have the characterization, or this is the highest level, when a value becomes part of the learner's consistent behavior and character. For example, a student lives out integrity not only in schoolwork but in a daily choices. How will you assess that? You may assess that through long-term observation, portfolios of actions or decisions showing a value integration, or you may assess that through teacher or peer testimonials. So in conclusion, when we assess in the affective domain, we are not just measuring what the students know, but who they are becoming. Okay, so using Krathwohl's taxonomy, we can create meaningful assessment that helps students shape their attitudes, develop empathy, and build their character. So when we assess in the affective domain, we focus on the attitudes, values, feelings, and emotional growth. So things like respect, responsibility, and appreciation. But how do we measure something we can't always see directly? Saan mo na? So there are 3 common methods to be used. the teacher observation, student self-reports, and peer ratings. So this is when the teacher watches the teacher observation. This is when the teacher watches students' behavior in class or during the activities. They are they showing interest? Are they showing cooperation? Or are they showing respect? So we use tools like the checklist and rating scales to record what they see. So that is an example of a checklist or a rating scales. For example, they might check if a student listens actively or volunteers or respect others' opinions during their group work. Okay, so another one is student self-report. Sama ng student self-report. So in here, the students reflect on their own attitudes or behaviors. So this can be done through a reflection journals, Likert scales, or in a sentence completion. So mo na siya yung mga example sa student self-reports. I'm sure kamutan na nakasuway gid ani because this method helps students become more aware of their feelings and their values. Now, lastly, we have the peer rating. So sometimes students learn a lot about themselves through peer feedback. Using tools like ratings, forms, or checklists, their classmates can evaluate each other's teamwork, their cooperation and empathy. Now, this builds accountability and encourage personal growth. So, in summary, we will use tools like checklists, rating scales, Likert scales, and semantic differential scales, or sentence completion and students' reflection, because this allows us to capture emotional and value-based learning in meaningful, respectful, and developmentally appropriate way. Okay. Okay, so and we are done on our last topic. Okay, last na gyud. So we're going to talk about the very useful tool that help us improve our task questions. It is called the item analysis. So paminaw. So item analysis is the process of checking how individual tasks or items perform in a given assessment. It helps us answer important questions like which questions were too easy, which were too difficult. Did the good students score well on the right items, or are there items that might be confusing or not helpful? So using item analysis, we can revise, we can remove, or retain the questions to improve the quality of our exams. Why is it important? Item analysis is important because it ensures our task is fair, balanced, and it truly measures the students' learning. So we don't want to include these items that confuse the students or give unfair advantage to some. So good tests should reflect what was taught, and item analysis helps us check that. Okay. So we will be focusing on two main measures in item analysis, the difficulty index and the discrimination index. Okay, so let's go over in each one in detail. Okay, so the difficulty index tells us how easy or difficult an item is. So the formula is difficulty index equals to the number of students who answered correctly over total number of students who answered the item. So let's say we gave an item to 25 students and 20 got it right. Again, number of students who answered correctly is 20. The total number of students who answered the item is 25. So 20 divided by 25 is equals to 0.80. So how do we interpret that? So here's how to interpret the scores. 0.00 to 0.25 means very difficult. 0.26 to 0.50 is equivalent to difficult. 0.51 to 0.75 is moderate. 0.76 to 1.00 is easy. So the answer is 0.80. Asa man kahaana napita, na belong. So it belongs to the easy. So that means that item is easy. Now, we usually aim for moderate difficulty because this shows a balance between challenge and accessibility. Okay, so now we go to the discrimination index. Discrimination index tells us how well an item distinguished between high performing and low performing students. So the formula is discrimination index is equals to correct answers from the top group minus correct answers from the bottom group over the total number of students in each group. Okay, so for example, we split the class into two top 27% performers and bottom is 27 performers also. For example, in a class of 30 students, the top group is 8, is equivalent to 8. The bottom group is also equivalent to 8 students. So let's say, for example, item number 2, 7 top students got it right. 3 bottom students got it right. Over to, that's a high discrimination index, meaning the item is excellent already. Because 7 minus 3 over 8 is equals to 4 over 8. So if you will divide that, 4 divided by 8 is equals to 0.50. So if you interpret it, 0.50 belongs to the excellent group. Okay, so meaning the item is excellent. So if an item has a low or negative discrimination index, it may be unclear, it may be misleading, or not aligned with your learning goals. So meaning, usbon to nimo tanan. So let's look, now look at the sample chart that summarizes the results of an item analysis for the 5 questions. Okay. So muna siya yung mga examples. Now let's walk through item number 3. Okay, item number 3, only 6 got it right out of 25. The difficulty index is 0.24, meaning that question is very hard. So the discrimination index is 0.10, which is poor. So we interpret it as too difficult or it is not useful. So our action is to revise or improve it. Ano man, it's because kasagaran man sa mga students wala ka answer anang item. So you have to revise your question. So balik gyud ka sa uno. So inaana na siya if ever mamaestra na ka kukon. So each item muhagi na silang tanawon pila ka student ang naka-answer, pila ka student ang na wrong, pila ka book student ang ni-answer anang item. So imuha na siyang tagsa-tagsaon. Anyway, dili ka maglabad gyud ana kay naray ubang mga formats nga na-create especially sa inyong institution nga school nga inyong applyan pohon. Okay, so dili ra mo mahadlok ana niya. Okay, medyo hadlok lang siya tan-awon but if makasabot na mo, it will help you how to improve writing a good question to your students. Okay, so in summary, if you use the difficulty index to know if items are too easy or too hard, you may use discrimination index to know if the items are helping us identify who really understands the lesson. Then you will have to revise, you will have to replace or retain based on what the numbers tells us. Okay, so maura na siya inyong pangtimanan. So that's the basics of item analysis. And I encourage you to try it on your own examinations or quizzes. So it doesn't just help in grading, it also helps us become more reflective and effective educators. So that's it. Thank you for listening as part of our review. I have prepared a short practice test for everyone. You may now access the test by either scanning the QR code on the screen on your phone or in your tablet. I will just give you time to take a moment to answer the practice quiz. Ma'am Lloyd, mana ko? Masalan, kita siya ang nagala, ma'am.
Biyuda, pero 20 years na kayong hiwalay.
Yes po.
Okay. So, matagal ka rin bang naghahanap ng kapartner?
Yes, Big Vice. Matagal na po.
Big Vice? Big Vice? Kapatid ni Big Bird. Big Vice. Okay. Ano pong hinahanap nyo sa isang lalaki? Anong klaseng lalaki ba yung gusto nyo makapartner o makasama?
Ang hinahanap ko, Mimi Vice, yung stable siya sa... May stable siyang kita para
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Or you may wait for Miss Faith Dagala because she will be the next presenter. Please say goodbye, everyone, and have a good day.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Since Ma'am Dagala is already done presenting, you may leave the meeting right now. Thank you so much.